Do you wonder how to make friends, how to talk to people, and get comfortable in your surroundings? Years ago, I want to tell you a story, and I'll talk about other stuff too, probably. But anyway, let me tell you this story. Years ago, when I opened my first law office, I was in this beautiful building. I didn't know anybody in this suite. The suite had about 13 or 14 lawyers who were all in private practice. I didn't know anybody. And I was 40, 43, 44 at that point, and just starting a law practice. I became a lawyer at 42. So anyway, so I had this, I rented this office, and turned out that the suite was filled with some very high-powered lawyers, some actually lawyers with some fame, and not all of them, but some. And I was very scared because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing there. How could I fit in with these people? And I had remembered a story about a judge who would, in settlement conferences, he would have in his chambers bowls of candy. He was known as the Candy Man. And lawyers would end up happy when they left, because who isn't happy when they're eating candy? So I put bowls of candy on my desk. And again, and I didn't have much of a practice at all. I mean, I had just a few cases that, when I started. And I put candy on the desk, and people started coming in. They'd add, "Oh, can I have some candy?" I said, "Oh, come in, have some candy." They would come in, and of course, you start talking, start to get to know people. And my way of getting to know people is usually to ask, like if you came into my office right now, I'd ask you about you. I want to know about you. I'm not interested in telling you about me unless you ask me something. But for the most part, I want to know about you, and then I'll bring myself in at some point. But anyway, so people would come in, and it turned out that the candy was one of the best ways to bond with people in this suite. There was an elderly lawyer. Well, elderly, he was probably at that point the age that I am now. His name was Al, and Al was such a character. So he would come in, he was real big and gruff, and he was an old-time lawyer. Like you would see him, and he was like right out of central casting. And if you don't know what central casting is, look it up. Anyway, so Al would come in, and he'd say, "Oh, I just want some sustenance," and I always had like Hershey's nuggets on my desk and jelly beans and all kinds of stuff. So Al would come in, have that, and we would start to talk. And then all of a sudden, he was wanting to retire. So he would say, "Well, I've got this case coming in, and I really don't want to handle it. Do you want to handle it?" And we started like a kind of not a partnership, but a cooperative. And he would bring the cases to me that would come to him, because he'd been a lawyer for like 50 years at that point, or close to 50 years. And so he knew, he had referrals coming in all the time. So I started getting cases with him. And then I had a really big case that came in, and I said, "Could you please help me with this?" It was a lady who slipped and fell in a 7-Eleven. Such a lovely lady. And she was diabetic, and she broke her leg and ended up having to get it amputated because it didn't heal. And it was horrible. Anyway, so I needed help. I was not experienced enough to handle that on my own. So Al helped me with that. Okay, so that was that. Then there was another lawyer in the suite who was very much younger than me. I think he was like 30 at the time. And he was very successful already, and the nicest guy. He loved doing jury trials, and he was very passionate about representing his clients. But at this point, even at 30, he had so many big cases that he couldn't handle small cases. And he came into my office one day, and he introduced himself, got some candy, introduced himself, and said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm personal injury. I'm a plaintiff's lawyer like you." And although not quite like him, I mean, he was a master at his craft, or still is. The guy's a genius. And anyhow, he said, "Well, are you interested in getting some referrals?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "Can you handle them?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I can." I didn't know what I could do or not do. And he said, "Okay, tomorrow I'm going to bring you a stack of cases because," uh, and he vetted me as well, but wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing, which I did. Um, and he said, "I'm going to bring you a stack of cases. Be prepared." And I thought, okay, so he's going to come with like 2 cases. This guy comes in the next day, like it was almost like with a wheelbarrow, and brings me all these cases. And that kind of helped launch my practice. And he said to me, "I don't want anything for this, but I get referrals." He's telling me about himself. He says, "I get referrals from a couple of other law firms that don't do personal injury, but they get a lot of cases. And I want you to pay the referral fee. We can do that with lawyers, between lawyers. I want you to pay the referral fee that you would pay me to them, because I don't want to dry up my source. So you better do a good job with these cases." So I mean, and so I don't. It must have brought in 25 or 30 cases right away. I had to hire somebody to help me right off the bat. So it was with the candy. It just made all these connections. So then I was so busy that that when I'd be walking down the hall, the receptionist would always say, "Lowell Steiger, there's call online, whatever." So I'd have to go pick up the call. And there was a lady there that worked for another lawyer who she was really cantankerous. Uh, she was probably in her late 60s at that time, and she ran that practice. She was tough. She was like a tough old bird. And they used to call her that. They used to call her Big Bird. So, um, and she had kind of a smoker's voice, and she would say, "Oh God, geez, I keep it Lowell Steiger this and Lowell Steiger that. I'm so sick of hearing every time I'm walking down the hall, I have to hear him getting paged." And I would never say anything. But she would come into my office a lot and get jelly beans. And that was the kind of connection we had. Her name was Carolyn. So she'd come in for jelly beans. And one day she started going off again about them paging me, and she was fed up hearing it. And I went nuts. And I started yelling at her. And I said, "I do not want to take your shit. I'm sick of listening to you." She was like 25 years older than me. And I was done with her. And then for a while, every time I would pass her in the hallway, I was kind of a jerk. Every time I'd pass her in the hallway, under my breath, I'd go, what did I say? Old bag. I think I would say old bag. Can you believe I would talk that way? I can't believe that was me. So I guess I wasn't all that nice, but I did have a lot of candy. Then I started feeling bad. And I thought, oh no, what am I doing? And so one day, I took a styrofoam cup, and I filled it up with jelly beans, went over to her desk, and I took it and I slammed it down on her desk. And I said, "Here." I gave her a cup full of jelly beans. And then we were fast friends after that. She'd come in my office again. She'd come lay down on I had a really nice sofa. Actually, I still have it. It was a Pottery Barn leather sofa. And it was really comfortable. She'd come in sometimes and lay down on my couch, and we would talk. And anyway, so that was my story there. So time goes on, right? And I have learned that the best thing in life is to connect with other people on a positive note. And one of the ways that I found to do that, like I said earlier in this video, is to talk, to ask you about you, anything. It doesn't really matter. Just like when I get in the elevator in my office now, somebody's in the elevator with me. I'm only in a 5-story building now. It's not very tall. And I'll go, oh, what floor do you, if we get in at the same time, what floor do you want? They'll go 5. I'm on the 2nd floor. They want 5. And I'll say to them, oh, you're going to the penthouse. Or, it's great view from up there. We don't have great views in this building. They're nice views, but they're nothing to get excited over. Or, and what about you guys? Can you talk to people just about anywhere? I couldn't do that when I was younger. I had nothing that I thought I could say. Now, if I get in the elevator with somebody, I will always say something to them. I'll compliment them on something that they're wearing, or if they've got food, I'll say, oh, that smells good. What is it? How's your day? It's amazing what you can accomplish in an elevator ride, or standing in line at CVS, or at the gas station if you don't have an electric car, or at the electric car filling station, whatever you call that thing. And I think there's a story that I think that Dale Carnegie has in How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the story is that there was a very highfalutin party, and this was probably back in the 1920s or 1930s. It's a very highfalutin party. And somehow this guy got invited to this party, and he was so uncomfortable. He didn't know anybody. He was uncomfortable with himself. And he was not a good conversationalist, he believed. And the hostess, the lady of the house, came up to him for something, and he asked her about her. I don't remember what it was, but he asked her something about herself. And that got her talking. And apparently she talked for hours to this man. And when the party was over, she went to her husband, and he never said anything. I mean, maybe he followed up. I don't know. My recollections, he didn't say anything. And he followed up. And so she says to her husband after the party, we have got to invite him to all of our parties. He is the best conversationalist I have ever met. So if you want to make friends, this is my take on life. If you want to make friends, ask them about them. Remember their name. Repeat their name over and over in the conversation. People love to hear their name. Very important. I'll give you an example of that. So now I'm still a lawyer and I have a full-time practice, but I also go on an app called Whatnot, which is live auctions. And on that app, I sell sterling silver jewelry. Quite beautiful. I really like doing it. I never thought I would be doing something like this, but I kind of fell into it and it developed. And now I do like about three to 4 shows each week that last about 5 hours each, selling this jewelry live. Cameras on me and on the jewelry. And then there's people in there. So I don't see those people because, I'm the only one on the screen. But there's a thing where, people can comment on the side or, in the chat. And also I can see who's coming in. And at this point now, I've been doing it long enough that I've got as of now, about 29,000 plus followers on that app. So every time I go on to do a show, a lot of people come in. Anywhere from 50 to 80 people are always in my show, buying and talking. I always tell them, you don't have to bid, you don't have to buy anything. Just glad you're here. Make your comments so everybody can, so you can communicate with people. It's kind of a very interesting concept. But anyway, it's social media. Social media meets auctions. And anyway, so when somebody wins something, I always congratulate them because I'm happy that they won the auction. And I always say their name. I always make sure to say their name. If I know their name or they have a moniker, a screen name, whatever it is, I will say it. Like Michelle, congratulations. Or my name is on there is Law Dog Retro. So if it was me talking to me, I'd say Law Dog Retro, congrats, that kind of thing. And then as people are chatting or people come into the room, I see it on the screen that they're in, I welcome them in. I make sure I say their name and make sure that they know that I'm happy they're there, because I am. I'm genuinely happy they're there. And then when the show is over and we go to ship everything, I send, and there's usually about, in a 5-hour show, I'll sell about 200 pieces of jewelry, of sterling silver jewelry, and that'll translate into maybe anywhere from 50 to 70 orders. People buy multiple pieces throughout the show. With every single order, I send a personalized note, typed. I mean, I can't handwrite all those, but like, "Dear Bob, thank you so much." And it's different every time. No one gets the same note twice. I always have it's original for every show, and I always want to make sure that they're acknowledged. And then sometimes people will say that the reason that they come to my shows and buy from me is because they feel like it's a family. They feel welcome. They feel like they're wanted there. And it's a community feel that has developed over the last few years. And again, it's being interested in other people. I find out, like, if somebody says, "Oh my gosh, I just got over a cold," or worse, I mean, some people, they'll say, "I just got back from surgery," or "My husband had a heart attack," or you would be amazed at how comfortable people are in expressing what's going on in their life. And I always try to remember what's going on in their life. And I will say, like, there's this one lady that comes on, her husband had a heart attack and he had heart failure, and he also had heart failure. And every time she comes on, I'll say, "How's your husband doing?" And she'll tell me. And then everybody else, because now they see it as well, they'll put hearts in the thing. So, heart emojis, or they'll say, "I hope your husband's doing well, and we're so happy to see you, and we're happy to hear that he's doing better," things like that. So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is that we can all, first of all, several bottom lines. There are several bottom lines. One, be interested in other people. Remember their names. Remember what's going on in their life if you can. Talk about it. Doesn't have to be elaborate. People just want to know that you're thinking about them. Like Maya Angelou says, people won't remember what you did. They won't remember what you said, but they sure will remember how you made them feel. And I think that is how we can make friends in this world, and to genuinely create communities and we have our blood family and we have the families that we choose. And sometimes one is better than the other. Sometimes they're the same. It's unfortunate. I have a wonderful family, but I have wonderful friends that I consider to be family. And that's it. I think that pretty much covers. And if you like this, if this has helped you in any way, or if you have comments you'd like to make about it, put it in the chat, in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. This is supposed to be kind of a feel-good episode, and I hope it has made you feel good, and I hope it has inspired you to just go out there and be kind, because kindness and interest in other people begets kindness back and interest in you. And that's all I have to say today. Oh, and like and subscribe.